Hi everyone, and welcome to this installment of KOTS Tips and Tricks. This is Fernando Kremer, Forward Deployed Engineer at Replicated. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to integrate Amazon's Elastic Container Registry, ECR, with Replicated. So let's get started. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take our tips and tricks application that we've created in previous videos and link it to a private ECR repository in Amazon. And then we're going to update the application YAML to use the private image tag for in our private repository. And lastly, we're going to update an existing installation, which we cover in the embedded install video. We're just going to update that installation with these changes, basically deploy the private image into our environment. So just make sure you have created your release in vendor web and you have also deployed this to an environment. In this case, we're going to use a VM, but if you deploy this to an existing cluster, that works as well. Okay, so to get started, we're going to switch over to vendor web. And for our tips and tricks application, we're going to go down here to images. And here you actually have two options. We can link it to our external registry, and that is what we will cover in this video. But know that you also have the option to push your images into Replicated's private registry. If you are just simply testing things and maybe are not ready to give us access to your private repository, this is a quick way to push some containers and try Replicated out. But if you want to link it to your registry, you have to provide it three things: the registry endpoint, a username, and password. So in this case, since I'm linking it to ECR, I'm going to switch over to the AWS Management Console and go to the Elastic Container Registry. And I have already uploaded the sample Nginx deployment that comes with Replicated, and I've uploaded into this demo app repository. It's important to note that if the repository doesn't exist in the image tag, you will get an error. You have to create the repository where you're going to put your container. So in this case, if you don't have it, you have to come in here and create a demo-app/nginx. And then you're able to then push the image in there. Okay, but I already have it, so I'm not going to create it, but just note that. So now what I want to do is get the endpoint, and here I'm just going to get it from the URL. I don't need the repo part of it. It's just the account name, the ECR US zone, so forth, until the Amazon AWS.com. For the username and password, I have created a service account. So let's go there. Let's go at IAM roles. And there, I'm going to switch over to my service account user, which is aptly named ECR Demo SA. And for permissions, it only needs read-only access, right? We're just pulling containers. We don't need any read-write access, just read-only is fine. And then I'm going to generate an access key here for my for this. So now under the username and password, I'll fill this accordingly. And if you click on link on registry, if it's successful, you should see these. If it doesn't work, you will see an error message. Okay, so now that we have linked tips and tricks with the private ECR registry, now switch over to the YAML for this application. And I'm going to go to the deployment YAML and simply update the image tag to now use the private container. So instead of just using the public Nginx image, let's replace the Nginx part with the tag from ECR. So to do that, let's switch back to ECR. And if we go back to our Nginx demo apps, and if we just copy the URI, that should work. Okay, so I'm going to replace this. Okay. Now, maybe you don't want to use latest. That's just what I'm using here. Change as needed, if you will. But for our video here, that's good enough. So we're going to save this, and we're going to create a new release. So for that, let's switch over to my command line. And remember, just for reminders, when you use our command line, you have to set up your two environment variables. So make sure you do that, and we've covered this in previous videos. But basically, right, you want to have the replicated app set to the right application and have the right replicated API token set as well. And again, this is all covered step by step in videos in our documentation. So once we have that, all we need to do is now create our release. So we'll run our release command. First, make sure that we have the manifest directory there, and now we're going to run the release create release command. So this command will give us our second release, our sequence 2. And now we are able to then update our existing installation. Just quickly, I'm just verifying in vendor portal that our new release is there. And in the deployment YAML, we're using the private ECR image. Perfect. Okay, so now let's switch over to my existing install that we deployed to a VM in a previous video. And this simply contains the original application, the simple Hello World application created with the Nginx deployment. And as you can see, the currently deployed application is still using the public image tag. So we're going to come to version history. We're going to check for updates, and we should see the new version of the application that has the changes in the deployment YAML. So it's there. So now we'll just click on deploy, and that will then redeploy that deployment YAML with a new image tag. So to verify that, first we can come here to view files and verify that the file actually has the changes, and it looks like it does. But what's important to note is that this didn't actually reach out to the private repo, right? If you look at the customizations we do on the overlays here, you can see that we prepend the image with our proxy address. So when you link your private repo with replicated, the end user does not pull directly from your registry. Instead, they pull from our proxy and use our pool secrets. If we now check the command line and the pods, we can see now that we have the Nginx running, but its age, you can see the Nginx deployment is newer than everything else, much newer. And if we describe that pod, let me copy and put it here in the command, we'll see that it's pulling from the proxy registry. Again, not directly from the private ECR repo, but again, it's going through the replicated proxy registry and thus using our pool secrets. So that way, if you use replicated, you don't have to worry about giving your secrets to other customers. Okay, so in summary, we linked our replicated account with ECR. We use a AWS service account. We updated the application to use the private image, and we deployed that to an existing install and verified it by looking at the deploy pod. So once you've gotten to this step, you're really ready to incorporate your application into replicated. So a common next step at this point is you may pick a microservice or just a service that you want to test a deployment with replicated. So a simple step could be that now you take that same deployment YAML, and instead of Nginx, you're going to pull your container, right? And that container may have some dependencies. Maybe you need to add a PVC, maybe you need to add other things like a service, but all those things are Kubernetes objects that you would just put into the replicated manifest directory. But this and other topics we'll cover in future videos. So keep watching and stay tuned. Thank you so much. Goodbye.